This is the Gen Y Leaders Podcast. Welcome to the Gen Y Leaders Podcast, where we guide millennials to become the next generation of business leaders and entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Eric Huey, and multiple times a month, we bring you interviews from high-performing millennials who are challenging perceptions and changing expectations of our generation. Our mission is to help you overcome fear, take action, and go confidently in the direction of your dreams. It's time to start preparing now, mainly because 10,000 baby boomers are retiring every day, which will create a vacuum of career opportunities that you've been waiting for. Will you be ready? Angel, welcome to the Gen Y Leaders Podcast.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time. If you could, for listeners and viewers, just tell them who you are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Angel McGee. I am the Manager of Communications and Outreach for the Kansas City MLB Urban Youth Academy, which functions underneath the Kansas City Royals as a youth nonprofit organization. So we're actually one of 8 academies across the country, and 6 of those academies are affiliated with the teams. So pretty much what we're doing is working with our underserved youth here in Kansas City, but providing free resources and access to baseball and softball. So really just to get those kids in those neighborhoods back playing, but making it accessible to them, because for a lot of reasons, baseball and softball aren't the most accessible sports in a lot of different communities. So that is our main mission. Beautiful.
And then you also have an affiliation with the Kansas City Chiefs too, right?
Yes. So I am also a field coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. This is year 7, I believe. So and also year 7 with the Royals as well. But pretty much on game days, we're making it happen. COVID kind of put a wrench in plans this year, so we're not able to do all the really cool things that we normally do, but making pregame an exciting show during the game, all the fan interaction. So just making sure when you're coming out to Arrowhead Stadium that we're putting on a great show for everybody.
For sure. Yeah, I think a question that's probably coming to mind for people is that anyone who's tried to get into professional sports and on the business side, it's very competitive. So I'm sure people are intrigued to know, how did you land even one professional sports job, not to mention 2?
Exactly. So I like to say my path is very non-traditional. If, believe it or not, I actually started off with the Royals as a mascot assistant.
Very cool.
And then for the Chiefs, they have now rebranded, but at the time it was called the Sports Lab, which happened to be part of, now it's the Play 60 Youth Outreach Program that functions underneath the Chiefs. So that's originally how I got my start on both sides. And then I worked my way up. At one point in time, I was holding 4 different part-time positions between both organizations.
Wow.
So I would be working by day, I'm Chiefs, and by night, I'd be walking across the street to Kauffman to finish up the day. Easily, a lot of the days, 12 plus hours. But when you're grinding and you're serious about your passion and you're really just taking anything that comes to you, that's just where my head was at the time.
Yeah, I'm sure those August, September days and nights where the seasons overlap are a little bit brutal on your time and schedule and sleep probably.
Would not recommend. Love it, and I'm so grateful for the opportunities. But yes, you're exactly right. And then you got to throw postseason in there as well.
Yeah, definitely. So, why professional sports? What's your why, so to speak? What keeps you getting out of bed every morning and working for 2 professional sports organizations?
For me, it's been a journey. I originally thought that I would be going on the route of game entertainment and game presentation. But when I got this role with the Kansas City Urban Youth Academy, it was a different chance to make an impact with youth. And I've always had a love and a knack for youth and community. I thought it was more of a hobby. So being able to volunteer for a lot of different organizations, and do a lot of different causes. But when it became my job, the perception and the realities hit so differently. So to be able to take sports, which I love, which is my passion, and to mix it into youth and giving kids an opportunity that they normally would not have without it has been, it's an understatement for me to say it's been a joy. My line of work, everything that we do, it's impacting a life.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing it firsthand each day. I mean, we're taking kids that have never, for some who have never picked up a bat or traveled outside of Kansas City. We were able to take kids to, we take our kids every year to spring training. We compete at the all-star game every year against the other academies with two teams, one on the baseball side and one on the softball side. We've sent kids to college. We're allowing scouts to come in and watch some of these kids who never thought they would be going anywhere on scholarship.
Right.
So, and that's just, the surface of what my job has been a part of. And so sports has opened up a door to understanding that it's a segue, and it unifies.
Mm-hmm.
It brings so many different walks of life together, from suburban to urban to rural. And I think that's just what's keeping me. I was in it, of course, for the rush and looking at it from an internal perspective as it related to, specifically the teams.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I've been on the side of community and seeing what my team can do for the kids around me, it's hard to describe because it's a blessing. It's a job like none other.
Yeah. Some people will say that if you find the right role that you'll never work a day in their life, or they feel like they've never worked a day in their life. What would you say to that in your own path?
That is nothing but truth.
Yeah.
I mean, I come in every day, so a lot of people ask me, and I get a lot of kids that want to shadow or intern, and they ask, what does a typical day look like for you? And it's really hard for me to answer that because there's so much happening. I mean, one day I can be, COVID has really switched up a lot of things. So I've been working from home, and we haven't been as accessible to the kids in the schools like we're normally used to. But during those days, I mean, there's, we have events, we have workouts, we have Major League Baseball will be coming into town. The Royals may be doing something at the academy. Our kids, our after school program. I mean, the kids become my kids.
Yeah.
And so, there's every day there's something. And if you work in the line with children, then you understand that not every day is the same. There's stories, there's just a lot. But for us, the fact that we're able to, our staff at the academy is like a family.
Wow.
And so we all have that camaraderie with one another, to help each other. It doesn't matter what we're doing. You'll find me on the field sometimes helping. I don't know why I'm on the field. Baseball and softball were not the sports I played. So I played everything else except those two. But, sometimes we gotta, we're maybe short a volunteer or something. Someone just needs help. And Angel, okay, let me just do the little stuff, but I'm coming. But that's the beauty of it. It's just, I'm learning too. I get to learn with the kids. I get to learn, really get to knowing them and their stories, and likewise, and for them to see, for a lot of them to see people that look like them in roles, that are of this authority or working in sports, something outside of what, stigmas have placed and what they maybe have seen in their lives. That's another asset to it as well.
Definitely. Yeah. I love what you said about the unification of communities and just the camaraderie amongst your own team and in the youth that play there at the academy. I think one point too is just the discipline that sports creates and the mindsets and habits of young people. I know that's something that, playing sports at an early age and through high school, that's something that's stayed with me throughout my whole life and professional career, is that if you want to excel and get better at something, you have to put in the time and practice and not be afraid to fail and strike out, so to speak, a few times and, learn to get better. So I'm sure that plays a factor as well.
Right. Oh, you touched on it perfectly. There are times you can't be afraid to fail. You're going to be told no. Everything that you can possibly think of will happen, may happen at some point. It's just what you're going to do behind it. And that's what I had to learn. It sounds like I had a pretty, straightforward path up, but I was told no along the way, but I didn't let it stop me. So, and that's, I use that to my advantage, and that's why I'm able to continue doing what I'm doing today.
Yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, I think people sometimes have a apprehensiveness to no, or a simple no can quickly get them off their dreams or their path that they want to be on. So talk us through, maybe a few scenarios where you were faced with a no and, were able to keep going.
Yeah. So, right after my mascot assistant position with the Royals, I actually went through wanting to apply for the internship that was available at the time. And so I actually got down to being the one of the two candidates. I didn't get the position, and
Oh
that was
man.
probably the first time that I'd really faced rejection.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't let it stop me.
Yeah.
And in that same phone call where she was telling me that my would-be boss at the time, the same phone call where she was telling me, we loved you, but we want you to get more experience, which was fine.
Yeah.
He said, well, we have another opportunity. We want you to get the experience, but this other opportunity would allow you essentially to do so. And that ended up being the part-time staff for Game Crew, which is the Royals in-game entertainment staff.
Hmm.
So the person actually got the position over me, the internship over me. He is now at the Minnesota Vikings, and I am now sending him recommendations
Wow.
for candidates. He's reaching out to me. We're still in touch. So it's funny how, the world turns around, but I understood my position at the time, and it wasn't anything that I was salty about.
Yeah.
I just knew I didn't. He had more experience than I did, and fair enough. Boom. So
Yep.
what can I do to get the experience? And I did so, and I ended up spending 2 years on the game crew with the Royals, which in turn gave me that experience. And that was during the 2014-2015 season, and we all know how that ended up. So
Yep.
that was a whirlwind. And so at the end, coming towards the end of the 2015 season, the internship was opening back up. And at the time, I hadn't really thought about it, but the mascot coordinator who I was still working under said, hey, how about you? Because I should backtrack. I was still working for 4 different part-time positions. So I had
Gosh.
2 Royals and 2 with the Chiefs. So I was still with him doing game crew and also doing mascot assistant with him. But he said, have you thought about reapplying? And I was like, actually, no.
Oh.
And he said, well, why not? And the rest is history. I literally was like, you're right. I had never in my life thought about if I was told no to go back
Huh.
and trying again, even if it was something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that was the first time it was like an epiphany. I was like, wow, I hadn't even thought about it, anything. So I did, and I got the internship, and that internship led me into this role today.
Wow. Reapplying. Yeah. Who knew? That's not a step that I think most people take after they get some rejection. So
Yes,
that's great.
absolutely.
Great that you did that. Any other stories or memories come to mind of pushing through hard times?
I think truthfully it was that whole time that I was working crazy amount of hours and crazy amount of positions. I just think that I was so focused, man, in wanting. I knew I would break in at some point.
Hmm.
And I think I was just so determined that I was taking any and everything. I mean, Eric, whenever an event popped up, count me in. Whenever, a game opened up, count me in. And it was, and I had my daughter at the time. So
Yeah.
it took a lot of family support because there were a lot of weeks, when we're talking 8, 10, 12 home game stands and stuff like that, games in the home stand.
Yeah.
Those are some long weeks,
That's
let me
good.
tell you.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of just really had to self-motivate.
For
And
sure.
just understanding that, I was here, I wanted to do something more. I knew this wasn't going to last forever.
Yeah.
So I endured through it, and truthfully, it lasted 3 years total.
Hmm.
But during that time, the experience I received, the opportunities I was exposed to, not only on the Royal side of things, but on the Chiefs side of things, just so much happened that ended up, really attributing to my growth
Hmm.
to be able to prepare me to the roles in the role that I have today.
Definitely. Well, thanks for sharing those. Um, as you've gotten into both the Chiefs and the Royals, um, did you know from the get-go that you wanted to be, climbing the ladder, so to speak, of each organization, or what was your thought process, as you got in?
Yeah. So, when So sports has always been my passion.
Hmm.
I studied, in school, ended up graduating with a bachelor's in communications, but was also the campus director for our TV station. I did play-by-play. I wrote in our campus um, newspapers. So sports has always been on the radar. I
Yeah.
thought I was going to go the sports broadcasting route, which was for ESPN. So I saw myself being in Bristol.
Yep.
That didn't quite happen, which is okay.
Yeah.
Um, I knew I wanted to stay in the sport. I just knew I just wanted to stay in the realm. So for me, um, you know, I just kept going.
Yeah.
And when I didn't really at the time, I was not focused on working with teams. I was really focused on like ESPN
Yeah.
and kind of the sports broadcasting world. I really was never focused on a team or working in professional sports. So when
Mhm.
the doors opened, I was like, okay,
Yeah,
let's just see where this takes me.
definitely.
And then it was just like door after door, step after step. And I was like, wow, okay, so I may be onto something. Let's just keep putting in the work. Let me keep
Yeah.
networking. Let me keep, talking with people. And so here I am.
Yeah.
And so
That's awesome.
now that's cultivated a lot of dreams and goals that I've set for myself within the last few years, rising within the ranks of the teams, but also looking from an industry perspective and a league perspective, just some things I want to do in the next couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. Any long-term visions specifically that you care to share? If not,
Yeah,
don't
no,
worry.
no, no. So, the cliche statement says, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I have a couple because I feel like I'll be okay with either of them happening.
Yeah.
I guess we'll go straight to the top is owning a team.
Oh
Um,
yeah. There you go. That'd be awesome.
there we go. As far as just being, just learning and learning the ins and outs of how a team functions. Next would be general manager,
Yeah.
especially in the day and age of women and coming up in the sports industry. I mean, my goodness, we are seeing so many trailblazers and so many things happening in the world of sports for women and opening up doors. And then also I'll be fine just, as far as being a top executive of a team or whether that's sitting at a league-wide position, I'm good with that as well. So just a couple of things I got my eyes on
Yeah.
and, whatever path leads me, I feel like I am supposed to be where I'm supposed to be.
Definitely. Yeah, I think you summarized it well because if I had to, I guess, label or put a title to our conversation, it would be something along the lines of aligning your passion with your career. And we kind of talked about that off camera. So for those people listening, how would you suggest to them or how would you encourage them to do that, as far as aligning their passion with long-term career opportunities?
Yeah, I would just take a look at where you are and really ask yourself what it is you want to do and
Mhm.
where you want to be. I feel like it's very simple
Yeah.
starting there. I know for a lot of us, we don't, I sat on a panel today and listened to a discussion with amazing women leaders here in Kansas City. Some of them, were in corporate for 30 years and all of a sudden just said, nope, don't want to do this anymore. I want to start my own business.
Wow.
So, I think it comes down to just listening to your passion
Hmm.
and trying to find the best skill sets and techniques that can, offer you growth along the way. For instance, maybe it does take about 10 years for you to stay in corporate America, to gain the skills and assets that you need to form and create your own business. That
Yeah.
makes sense. So for me, I just, my piece of advice would just be to follow what it is that makes you happy. There's no sense in staying in something that is draining you every day.
Yeah.
Um, Take that leap. I mean, we only have one life to live, and really follow what it is that's in your heart, that you're passionate about, that you can't stop thinking about it. You can't stop talking about it. Just follow through with it, and just make sure whatever you're doing, it speaks to you and speaks, to what you want to do.
Sound advice. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
I meant to ask this earlier on, but do you have favorite memories or athletes that you met, exciting games looking back at your career with Royals and Chiefs?
Yeah. Oh, so man. There are a lot of memories there. Postseason for 2014 and 2015 will probably be the best times of my life.
Yeah.
I didn't sleep because that's
I'm sure.
um,
Coffee and Red Bull.
yes, it felt like I would be leaving the stadium and then I was there again, and then in a couple of hours the next morning clocking in. And let's not forget, these were also the same years the Chiefs were still making playoffs, and
Oh
so
yeah.
important games and big games and things of that nature. Um, so, those guys from the time that I was there, Hosmer and Kane and Moose, Salvi, Duffy, Dyson, those were the guys that I was on the field every game and working and managing our crew at that time. So I had to, and going to spring training.
Yeah.
So I had a chance to really know these guys on and off the field.
That's crazy.
And, a lot of them, they're the same person that they are off the field that you see on the field. So that was always a lot of fun. On the Chiefs side, speaks the same thing as well. I also serve as the chair for the Tyrann Mathieu Foundation.
Wow.
So I work a lot with his group here as far as
That's
his
amazing.
Kansas City chapter. Yeah, he has a Kansas City chapter and he has a New Orleans chapter for his hometown. And so myself and my co-chair, Levon Kohlhauer, who's with the Greater Kansas City Community Foundation, we head up his chapter here. So
Wow. That's
I'm
amazing.
pretty much,
Congrats on that.
I've had opportunity with him in a lot of different areas, a lot of different sets, GQ, ESPN interviews. When he was doing a lot of his community events last year before COVID hit, we did do the voter registration event this past year to help get folks out and registered, and abundance of other things. And so a lot of those players, being able to work with them in the past, Derek Johnson, you name it, even the current ones now, your Pats, your Travis and Tyreek and all those guys. I count it a blessing because here I am, a Kansas City native, and working for the two teams I've only ever known. Like, it's you bleed blue or you bleed red. There's no in between. So to have, to be working for both and to be in those areas, and really seeing what the players do off the field is incredible. I think we don't give enough credit sometimes. We're so focused on what they're doing on the field that we don't realize, to an extent, the impact that they have done off the field. And those are a lot of the situations I've been a part of when it comes to a community aspect. So that's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Those are great stories. I think it's a testament to yourself too, right? I mean, as far as speaking to the work that's kind of behind the scenes. So I think it's big part why you've been successful too in your career, as far as, you put in the work, get up every day, go practice, so to speak. And so I admire your career that you've had and then the growth that you've had in each organization. I have no doubt that you'll reach some of those long-term goals.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Eric.
Yeah. So as we wrap up here, there's a couple key questions I always ask every guest. One being, what people, books, or resources have made an impact on your career or personal life?
Oh, man. Books, resources, and people. Man, so I've had the chance and the opportunity to read. So Dayton Moore has a book that he has written. And I just feel like it's just full of gems, truthfully, of a lot of life gems. I've had a couple of other books that I've read from really studying a lot of athletes that have written books, but they coincided with their spiritual lives, and that aspect. But really a lot of the moving parts in the league, as far as a lot of your fly under the radar people. So for me, that would be a few people up at the league offices who have constantly reminded me, and being a mentor or being a sponsor of some sort. But my parents are probably if not the biggest. Unfortunately, my dad passed away last year.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. No, thank you. I appreciate that. But they have been the foundation for me. I have met tons and tons of people with accolades that wrap this room 30 times. But my parents have, I'm the first generation for everything. So I'm the oldest as well. So setting the path and the mold for my siblings, But seeing them, push through their entire lives, they didn't go to college yet. They ended up making the very best out of it for themselves, out of their own careers, and then for their children. And that determination in itself, I feel, trickled into me. They afforded me the opportunities to be able to go to college, to go to and have these higher opportunities to step in and help me with my daughter as I was pursuing all of these dreams,
Wow.
So many things that, I was taught growing up and have been instilled in is literally why I am the person I am today. And it can only attribute to those two.
That's amazing. Can't beat having great parents. So that's awesome. What a blessing. And then last question, where can people get a hold of you if they want business or personal advice?
Absolutely. So I'm on LinkedIn, Angel McGee, if you can't find me. Also, Angel McGee, my email, which is angel.mcgee@royals.com. Pretty sure you go to either Royals or the Urban Youth Academy site, and I will pop up somewhere. So yes, when in doubt, search Angel McGee. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna pop up, but yes, those would be the best ways to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Angel, thanks so much for your time tonight, and good luck to you in your career.
Thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate you having me.
That wraps up today's episode. We hope to have brought you some valuable key takeaways. Most importantly, whatever you learned, take action on it. Apply it to your life. Apply it to your career. Motivation and inspiration only come as a result of taking that first step. So if you're enjoying the podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe on whichever platform you found the show. You can also follow us on all the major social media platforms or contact us directly at genwhyleaders@gmail.com. That's GENWHY leaders@gmail.com. Until next time, I'm Eric Huey, and thanks for listening to the Gen Y Leaders Podcast.